As the title of this article states, Helldivers 2 just can't catch a break anymore. They kind of do it to themselves. So we're going to jump into an article by Kotaku talking about Helldivers 2. One of their new missions that they have with was a major order that there's an issue with. And it's like I said, it's from Kotaku, so we're going to see like how in depth it is. So let's get into it. Let's talk some more about Helldivers 2, and let's go. So before we jump into this article, of course, I have to pull this up. Helldivers 2 responds negatively to Railgun Nerf complaint. This was like 3 months ago. And mind you, the Helldivers 2 devs took to Reddit and said it's a skill issue, right? Skill issue. Which, I mean, I have no problems if they're complaining about stuff. But, like, come on, man. Anyways, Helldivers 2 just can't catch a break anymore. The game's latest major order introduces a mission so overwhelming it needs to be nerfed. Okay, skill issue. Remember that. Once upon a time, Helldivers 2 was everyone's favorite game. Players were overjoyed to cosplay as satirical fascists, and their promise of evolving galactic war story enthralled the masses. Which, I mean, it had a really great concept because, like I thought it was so cool being able to stand on your little ship, and mine was the Sword of Family Values, and watch other ships rotate around this planet and watch other Helldivers drop in. And to be able to affect a game on such a level to the fact that, you know, you would be able to see progression throughout the universe as you complete missions. It's amazing. It's a great idea. Nowadays, though, it seems Helldivers 2's own community is getting increasingly sick of it and the developers behind it. Which, this is going to be a hard fall from grace. That's all it's coming down to. Just look at the reception of the latest major order, which has proven far too hard to be enjoyable. And I know in my last Helldivers 2 video I did where I talked about it, I did say the game was grindy, which it is. You got to grind to get like samples and so on and so forth. And somebody's like, oh, there's other games that are out there more grindy. Oh, I absolutely agree. But it's my opinion. I don't like live service games where you have to grind, especially doing dailies or doing major. Like if you do a major order that takes, 2-3 hours over, for a week, okay, I'm cool with that. But dailies, like, come on, man. Helldivers 2's current major order introduces a new mission to deploy dark fluid on the planet of Meridia. It's intended to be used to destroy the intense number of terminoids that are there. During the mission, players are supposed to defend the drill site from incoming waves of bugs, which, guess what? It doesn't sound like you're really updating anything. You're just like, hey, defend this drill, and, we're going to throw more and more bugs at you. But people are finding it exceptionally hard to do because the bugs have been spawning in overwhelming numbers right on top of the drill site. Skill issue. Remember that, guys. Let's keep going. To make it even worse, the flying bugs have been swarming players too, especially when they're extracting after completing the brutally difficult mission. Clips and screenshots of players getting completely mobbed and having to be mobbed on have been shared all over the game's forums. One meme likened the fighting off the swarm of Malfine's last stand sat in his Gatling gunstrap mech in Matrix Revolutions. Yeah, I mean, that is actually probably a really good way to put it. So some folks have been having their own fun laughing at the situation, while others are tallying the number of times they've felt burnt by the game and considering calling it quits. Which like I said, it's just one of those things like, it's just the same missions. According to Helldivers 2 community, the mission is absolutely busted and they aren't wrong. Okay. So Arrowhead has taken to the game's Discord to share that their immense spawn rates in the dark fluid missions, as well as the unprecedented close spawn locations. Which that right there, like you got to balance the game somehow and make it fun. And don't get me wrong, difficult games, especially finding stuff out like with your friends as you're playing, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're just going to do this, like, come on, man. Or this unfortunate scenario is just another installment in Helldivers 2 regrettable fall from grace, and it's disheartening to see the game's once proud community become one to tear the game down so thoroughly. Which doesn't surprise me because you have devs out there that are like skill issues, and then they're not balancing anything. They're not doing anything. They're just like, we're going to throw as much as we can at you and just completely destroy the fan base. It's been a rough time for Helldivers 2, which has been weathering the storm after storm. The turning point in the saga was Sony's enforcement of the PSN for PC players, which caused Helldivers 2 to be pulled from storefronts from around the world where PSN is now being supported. By the time Sony is not blah blah. Like, this is the other problem that a lot of people had when I saw in my comment section for my last video talking on Helldivers 2, is there is a severe lack of content. They're not really introducing anything new. They're not doing anything new. They're like, oh, well, here's a new war bond. There's only so much you could do with war bonds where it's like, here's, a gun that you need to get, or a skin, or an emote. Like, that's not really doing anything to push this game forward. And I think they're starting to really lose their path when it comes to that because, what are you doing here? You need to like start bringing stuff down to make things just a little bit easier on the fan base that is staying there, because a lot of people have hit the eject button. They're not in there playing anymore. They're not doing these major orders. They're not doing like this. It's not like, we're in the middle of April again where, everybody was playing this. We're in the middle, we're at the beginning of June right now, and they've had controversy after controversy. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy when devs speak up about different things, right? And devs tell you, hey, this is our thoughts on it. And especially if you're going to sit there and say, hey, skill issue, but yet you're going to be like, ha ha, you guys, this is impossible. We're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at you. That's where you're really ultimately going to end up losing the fan base. That's where you're ultimately going to lose everything. And especially after the PlayStation debacle, right? You guys need to refocus here. We're going full screen. I think that this game really needs to have the devs refocus and really figure out what path they want to do, especially since the CEO, the original CEO that was in charge during the Helldivers 2 stuff, stepped down and he wants to be a creative director for Helldivers 2. Well, if that's the case, man, like, figure out how to pull this game out of the dumps, rebalance some stuff, introduce some new things to the game that's going to keep it fresh and keep players engaged instead of the same missions over and over and over again. Because that's the other thing I hated about Destiny. I'm going to throw that out there because I think Destiny is a terrible game, especially the first one. The first one was so bad, I never even played the second one, and that is, it was the same grind over and over and over again. The same 15 missions over and over and over again. The same missions to get, X, Y, and Z to build whatever equipment you needed. Live service games are fun for a little while, and then eventually they end up dying off. Unless you keep it fresh, keep it rolling, and do something to keep the players engaged. Because if you don't, you're losing them. Anyways, you guys, I want to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. Let me know. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? I mean, the last video I did on this, y'all sounded off a lot. And, like, a lot of y'all's takes, it resonated. It was the same thing. It was like, hey, they're not keeping it fresh. Hey, they're not introducing new stuff. And, of course, I saw a couple that were like, it's not grindy. It's this. It's that. It's like, okay, it's my opinion, right? I'm entitled to my opinion. I have a platform here, and I don't mind sitting down talking to you guys, and especially addressing different things. I think it's fun. Anyways, you guys, don't forget to mash that like button, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you think. Is it a skill issue, or do you just think that the same way I'm thinking is that the player base has dropped to a point where they're going to have to start dialing it back on these major orders to try to keep people engaged? Anyways, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you later.